Hello, BookTube. I am glad to be back. It's been a really weird week this week, which I'll get into in a moment. But I'm a little late in recording because of that strange week, and I ended up posting the library haul video a little later than I normally would too. So here I am. It's Saturday. I'm confused about the days because I had off yesterday too. So where am I at with the books that I actually got from the book haul? Well, I am here to give you that update, and what I really want to talk about most is this book, and I think this one is Mother Dead by Vigdis. Hjorth is on the long list for the Booker International Book Prize. I'm getting it confused with the Women's Prize, but I think I looked this up yesterday, and I finished this yesterday or last night, and I want to say a couple things about this book. One of them being that it is a hard book to read, so lots of abandonment issues between mother and daughter. That is a really strong theme, and in fact, what this book is about. You know this from the description on the flap, so I'm not giving anything away. It's interesting because it says it's a cat and mouse game of psychological torment developed between a middle-aged artist and her mother. It's interesting because now that I've read this, I don't know that it's been developed between the artist and her mother. I think her name is Joanna, is the artist. An artist who grew up in Oslo, Norway, and decided when she had to be pretty young, in her 20s, that she was going to college to be, I believe, a lawyer. This is very early on in the book, so I'm vague on those details already. But she was going to college to study whatever her parents really had in mind for her to study. She has a sister who might be a younger sister named Ruth, and she decides that what she really wants to do is study art. She applies for by now she's married, and she applies for a program in the United States in Utah. And she gets in, doesn't tell her parents because she's on her own now and she's married, and she decides to leave for Utah. She actually leaves her husband and goes to Utah. They don't go into, or the author doesn't go into very much why she left, but I get the feeling that her husband, I think his name was Mark, was also somebody that they had in mind for her. So she felt like to get any kind of approval from her family, but especially her mother, she really needed to be doing what her mother had in mind for her, whether that was said or unsaid. But there are clues in this book that unfold very slowly and in layer after layer after layer about the psychological relationship she had with her mother and her mother had with her as she was growing up. So what is so extraordinary about this book is how it does unfold layer by layer. And interesting, it's interesting in that there will be chapters that are whole pages of solid writing with no paragraphs, and then there will be chapters that are this long and that are this long, but it all builds into this more and more and more and more compulsive story that's unputdownable. So She's an artist. She's a successful artist. She, in her lifetime, so her family decides they don't want to have anything to do with her. They're abhorred with her leaving and moving to Utah and starting a new life as an artist and leaving her husband and everything. And she starts a relationship with a guy named John, and she gets married. I'm sorry, I'm getting the names mixed up. She gets married to someone and has a son named John. They recognize that their grandchild was born, but the whole time they're not speaking to her. They've disowned her, and she starts putting out artwork that they find disturbing, and especially the show that she later has in Norway, in Oslo, called Mother and Child 1 and Mother and Child 2. They are aghast at this show. Now, they don't ever describe the painting, so you're left to wonder, like, what? You guess from the way the artist talks that it's abstract and that it's supposed to represent the truth of how Joanna felt as a child in this relationship. It's not supposed to literally represent the relationship, but her mother is not going to understand that, and she's just more and more abhorred. And so her father gets sick, and things happen there that make the non-existent relationship even more non-existent. This book is about Joanna coming back to Norway for certain circumstances. She's able to come back, and she actually decides to rent a place in Oslo. She says 53 kilometers from her mother's house. And so the rest of the story is about her thinking about her mother and her sister, but mostly her mother, and could she reach out to her mom, and how would she reach out? She tries calling, but because she's so close to her mother's place, which she's looked up on Google Earth, so she knows exactly what it looks like. She knows what windows her mother's probably looking out at and what trees her mom's looking out at in the morning. And you can see how this story probably becomes more and more and more obsessive. And that's all I'm going to say, because the beauty of the experience of this book is letting it unfold. It's a very hard book to read because of the nature of this relationship. So just be aware of that. It was hard to read and yet compelling. And I haven't read the other books on the long list, but this, no matter what list it was on, and whether it makes the short list or not, for me, in this first 3 months of the year, even though it's not an enjoyable story because it's hard to read, it was so well done. So I'm going to look for other books by Vigdis Hjorth, because apparently she's written quite a few. And there's a lot of praise here for a book called Will and Testament, and another book called Long Live the Post Horn. So I'll see if my library has any other of her books. Highly recommend this one, though. Okay, how am I getting along with some of the others? Rent Boy. All I'm going to say about Rent Boy is it is brutally honest and unflinching. This character who is works at a bar and is attending classes at a college, like 2 night classes or something, or 2 day classes, since he works at night. He works until 2 a.m. He's also a prostitute, male prostitute, in this world of other male prostitutes and hustlers, and very much the New York City street life of the 90s. So I am about 1/4 of the way through. You have to be willing to handle the way this is written, the way they talk. It's very graphic. But I don't know if I would say I'm enjoying it, but it's such a romp. I don't know whether this story takes a turn or not. It's so short that I'm going to keep going. But yeah, I'm glad I got this. I'm glad I got this out of the library. And I started the Anita Brookner. Look at me. And what can I say? It's an Anita Brookner. I love it. It's this happens to be focused on a, I guess the question is, what female is Anita Brookner focusing on in this story? What lonely female? And her name's Fanny, and she's a solitary librarian, and she makes friends with, or these two people befriend her. They're a couple called Nick and Alex Fraser, and they come to the library to do research and things, and they're somewhat including her in their lives sometimes, and that's where I'm at in the story. So we'll see what happens with them and with her. I'm continuing to absolutely love Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope, the second in the series of the Barchester Chronicles. Other players are coming into the story now. We're focused on is it Harding? Harding's, who was the warden in the first story, Harding's widowed daughter Eleanor is an eligible widow. She has some money from her dead husband's life insurance, I guess I'll call it. Maybe it was a pension she was given when he died. And so some of the story revolves around people coming into town, and the new bishop, and the someone else that's come into town because of the new bishop is named Mr. Slope. And Eleanor is getting some attention from Mr. Slope. Mr. Slope was paying attention to Eleanor, but now he's paying a lot more attention to her now that he has learned that she has this pension. There is, just in the point that I'm reading it now, there is a guy named Mr. Arabin, and he's a new, I'll call him preacher. I don't know the right word for that, but he's been assigned to a nearby church called St. Ewald's, and he came into town, and people in Barchester that are involved in the religious religious life had a bit of a reception for him, and he and Eleanor found that they had some things in common. So I didn't see that coming, and nobody in the story saw that coming either. Trollope is continuing to talk directly to the reader, or Trollope's omniscient narrator, and that is just wonderful. I'm just really enjoying that a lot. So this is the book that I think, reading the most at night, because it's just captivating. Then wanted to let you know that I am eager to try this Jean Rhys book after leaving Mr. Mackenzie. So I will be, I'll be keeping it and not returning it to the library, because I do want to get to it after I'm done with the Anita Brookner. And I just wanted to update everyone on War and Peace. We are 12 or 13 weeks in, so I'm about this far. I am doing a chapter a day along with many people from a Bookstagram read-along group that's been organized by Simon from Footnotes and Tangents. And it's been my morning routine. I absolutely love the chapter a day. Sometimes I've read 2 a day, not often though. I'm right on time with everyone. So sometimes when I read ahead, if something happens in life that I'm not able to read in the morning, then it all works out, because then I'm right in time with everyone. This has just been an amazing way to read this book, is all I can say. Simon does a really good job of just summarizing the chapter in a little Instagram post. And it just makes you feel like, oh yeah, there's hundreds of other people reading this book at the same time. I don't read I'm not on Discord. I don't get into the exchanges from all the people that are reading along. I just really enjoy reading it and knowing everyone else is reading it, and the introduction of new characters, and the humor is just the humor and the sadness and the tension. Everything in this book has just been amazing. So highly recommend War and Peace. I never thought I would actually say that, but I am very happy to be reading it. And this has really opened me up to maybe rereading Anna Karenina. I read that so long ago, probably 30 years ago. I don't even know if I finished it. So I am interested in a read-along of Middlemarch, maybe next year. That would be the big read-along that I do. I don't know. We'll see. There are some people who are talking about next year a read-along of Bleak House, which I would really like too. But I have to say, now that I've done my first big read-along of a Russian classic, it might have to be a Russian classic. So we'll see. What happened earlier this week was after I filmed the library hall video, there was a storm and our electricity went out on Saturday afternoon, and then it didn't come back on until Monday at like 6 p.m. So we were a little discombobulated on Sunday, and then we went to a hotel for Sunday night because it was still getting down into the 30s here. And of course we took our little Suki along. And then I worked from the hotel because I was able to get a late checkout that day. They let me stay until 3 p.m. They also let us check in early on Sunday, so that was nice. So yeah, that was a bit discombobulating, but we are happy to be back. We just had a storm before I started recording, and the lights were flickering again. So we were a little nervous, but nothing happened. Knock on wood. I'm going to the library tomorrow. I've got some holds. I think some of them are from either the Booker International long list and the Women's Prize. So I will share those with you when I get them. I'm excited to take a look. I started, the only other thing that I didn't mention is I started Collected Works by Lydia Sandgren, and I really like the writing a lot. It's very small font, which means it's an even larger book than it looks. So I don't know whether I'm going to keep it. I'm going to wait until, I'm going to make up my mind by tomorrow. It might just be that it's not the right time for the book because it's so large. And I just finished a pretty large book, which was Birnam Wood. So we'll see. But I do want to come back to it if I do take it back to the library, because the writing is really, it is telling a story from the husband's point of view about Claudia, who is his wife who disappeared. And I thought the writing just drew me in, but I know I'm going to have to be in for quite a while, so I don't know if I'm ready for that. So anyway, let me know what you've been reading this week, and I would love to know, without any spoilers of course, but I would love to know if anyone has read this or is reading this and what is your experience. So please share, and I will talk to you next week.